Hello, welcome to another Marketing Chit Chat with Brandon Utley and Laura Carino. And you never see her, but Danielle is also in the background helping us out. Okay, so today we are talking about copyright infringement, and how people in digital marketing might use it best or not use it, or just kind of understand it a little bit so that you don't get your customers in trouble, because it's really your customers that would get in trouble, not you. So very, very, very important to know. One thing that I have to tell you right off the bat is neither Brandon nor I are attorneys, IP attorneys. We're not copyright attorneys. We are not giving you legal advice here in any way. If you need that, call your attorney. But we do have some experience. Brandon's got a good story for us that I would love to hear. So go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, you'll hear this for the first time, Laura, because I don't share this with too many people. It's actually kind of painful. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there as a cautionary tale for others. But this idea of using any digital form of content is pretty important. Most people would, think about, for example, if you go on Google and you search for an image and you copy and you find a cool image, you copy it and you use it for something. That can be very problematic. Same thing if you were to sample a portion of somebody's song or grab a clip of a movie or whatever creative work exists, and you're going to use it for some purpose. If you don't own the rights to use that, you could get in serious trouble. All right. So we'll talk about the main issues of the rights, et cetera. But after I share my story quickly. So I think it was 2015, roughly. I was asked to give a speech at a local conference. And so, of course, I was speaking for free. It wasn't a commercial thing. I was just presenting, right? And so as part of that, I put together a presentation, slides, and, in researching my slides, I came across one image that I found online that I thought was good to illustrate whatever point I was going to make. And it was just a fairly innocuous picture of like a bunch of teenage girls, because I was talking about social media or something at the time, and they were holding cell phones or something. So it looked good. The interesting thing to note was that in the image itself, there was a little copyright symbol at the bottom, right? So I didn't think too much about it. I just figured, well, I didn't try to airbrush it out or Photoshop it or whatever. I left that copyright on there. And in my mind, I was, naively thinking, well, I'm acknowledging that this is a copyright image, and I put it in my presentation. My mistake was, after the speech, somebody said, "Hey, can you share this presentation?" And I'm like, "Sure." So I uploaded it to this site called slideshare.net, which is the way you can share like PowerPoint presentations, et cetera. It's now owned by LinkedIn, but it'd be the same if you uploaded it to anywhere else, pretty much, right? Didn't give it any other thought, right? About, I don't know, months later, one day I go open the mail at the mailbox, and there's this really incredibly nasty letter from a photographer who said, actually, I think I got an email first saying, "Did you post this?" And he had a link to the SlideShare. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yes, I did. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I had given a speech, and, I didn't get paid for it or anything, but I did use your image. And I noted your copyright. I left your copyright on there. Then I subsequently get this like thing in the mail saying, you have infringed my copyright. It was a photographer. And he said he had pages of documentation that he had actually, registered that image with the U.S. Patent or Copyright Office or whatever. So you had all this documentation. I've registered this image. You used it without permission. Therefore, you've, infringed on my copyright, my ownership, and I'm seeking damages. And I think it was like $15,000 or something insane, right? I had about had a heart attack, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, the guy was actually in my state. So I started thinking, well, who do I know in that city? And I started asking people, like, do you know this person? Can you just explain? Like, I'm a nice person, whatever. He didn't give a crap, right? It doesn't matter. What I'm going to tell you first and foremost is a lot of these photographers now are very savvy. They hire law firms. They're almost like ambulance chasers. They specifically set up these processes by which whatever pictures they take for whatever nominal fee, they make them register them so they can say, hey, I got a registered trademark or copyright on this image or whatever. Boom, I've got that. Then they have software that's constantly combing the web. That's how they found me on SlideShare, right? They somehow have embedded information in some of those images where they detected, oh, look, boom, sucker, this person grabbed this image, didn't get permission, and put it in there. And I'm guessing that if I had asked for permission, he might have said sure for maybe a couple $100 or something, right? I probably would have said, screw that, I can go find another image.
Yeah.
Long story short, I had to get I hired my own attorney, paid a little bit of money too, but we were able to negotiate that penalty down to, I think, about $5,000, which was still incredibly painful, right?
Plus attorney fees. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I really felt horrendous.
Yeah.
I thought, God, as a marketing person, maybe I should have known better, right? But again, and not very naively thinking, I'm not using this for a commercial purpose. I didn't get compensated for it. I wasn't trying to resell his image or anything of that nature. Didn't matter, right? Now, could I have fought that? Possibly. Under something called fair use. There's a whole legal ramifications around the context in which you're using that image or whatever, right?
Yeah, from what I understand, that fair use can only be determined by a federal judge, though.
Correct. So basically, yeah. So the guy was like, either you pay me $15,000 or I'm going to sue your ass, basically. Like, pay the money or we're going to court. And so I wasn't willing to call his bluff because I was thinking, what if I go to court?
He just wants money. Yeah.
And the judge rules in his favor and says, sorry, Brandon. Yeah, you used his image without permission. I don't care what you did with it. Now you owe him $30,000 or whatever. It could have been worse. So in my mind, I was like, I did negotiate and mitigate it, but it was still ridiculous and very painful. Yeah. So my advice to people is don't be naive. Don't grab stuff off the web and think you can use it and get away with it. What you need to do, and what I've done ever since, is if I don't own the rights to it, I don't use it. Otherwise, I'm going to go to some place like unsplash.com that has 100% royalty-free images. You can use whatever you want there. Technically, you should attribute it to the photographer, but you don't have to. And you're not going to get in trouble for it, right? Or you just pay money and you go get your own photography or whatever. But super important to understand that these photographers and their law firms are out there looking for people to bust. And so that's kind of the story I wanted to share.
Yeah. So do you think that, so you mentioned like ambulance chasing, right? Or like, people do the same things with trademark, right? Any kind of copyright. But they hire these attorneys. Do you think there's like a package somewhere that they can, like a photographer can go buy and say, hey, here's my work. You do your little ambulance chasing and I'll pay you X dollars a month to get it done. And we all split the fees or whatever, split what we get out of it. Like that. Do you think they're truly like, that is their money-making avenue? That is it? Even if the pictures are like, okay.
Yeah, I think that is a huge way for photographers to make money now because, think about it. Since the birth of digital photography, everyone has a great camera in their pocket, right? That's better than the equipment that professional photographers had 5 or 10 years ago in some cases, right? So a lot fewer people are actually hiring commercial photographers, number one. So their revenue stream has probably dropped over the years. Therefore, they need to make up ways to supplement their income. What better way to ensure that than to pay enough, incremental money to copyright everything they put out there. Also put it out there because the guy uploaded the photos, right?
Yeah.
And then that's almost like a bait and switch. So for people who are gullible or don't know any better, if you copy that image, use it and get caught, it can be very severe.
Even
So all yeah,
yeah, from what I understand, even if it's not registered, even if a work is,
yes.
online and not registered, it's still protected under copyright.
Correct. Yeah, you don't have to go to the step of actually filing with the patent and copyright office or whatever. No, and we're not talking about patents, but yeah, literally, if I write something or draw something or whatever, I can put on there, copyright Brandon Utley 2021, right? And just by writing it, if it's an original work and I dated it and did that, technically it's mine.
Yeah.
Now, you could get into some issues later if it's not technically registered and somebody else can claim, oh, I did something
First
real
thing. Yeah.
similar, same time, and I actually got it copyrighted, whatever. But you see this all the time with musicians accusing other musicians of stealing their um, melodies, or
Lyrics.
writers saying,
Yeah.
hey, this person stole the basis for my whole plot for my book or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to it. But just from a general marketing standpoint, I would say the biggest issue to avoid is just use of images that you don't own. And just leaving the copyright in there from somebody is not enough. If you really want to use that image, you need to track down the creator and seek their permission in writing and
Yep.
pay whatever fee they're asking for and stuff like that. So, but
Yeah.
that was a major, horrible, eye-opening experience for me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I didn't have a bad one to share, so I'm so glad that you did. But I've heard of them, right? But I haven't.
But yeah, to your point, I think the lawyers are making a bunch of money because all they really need to do is have software just running and looking for instances, and maybe having somebody, peek at these results every once in a while and go, oh, here's one that's used, and look up in the person's database. Did they pay you for this or not? Easy. Sue
Yeah.
them, send it out, go. And they probably have a very high success rate.
Yeah.
And
But
sadly,
kind
a
of,
lot of those people probably just pay that initial fee right off the bat.
yeah, because they're worried about, well, what else are they going to go find if they found this? I've been doing blogging for like 20 years or something. So you might
Yeah.
have
And
all
I'll,
kinds of things that you didn't think about if you you know, still not taking those precautions. So
yeah,
great story. Thank you for sharing.
I ended up,
Yeah.
yeah, I ended up going and deleting a bunch of stuff too, just out of safety.
Yeah,
I'm like, God, um,
exactly. I think that was good.
paranoid.
If you have to ask for permission, the best thing is just find something that you own. Like you said, I really do think that is the best, or make something that you own, or go to. And so Danielle is going to put a bunch of comments in the comment section under here. She's going to share a bunch of resources where you can use royalty free, fair use, public domain, like public license kind of lists of good places to go for images, gifs or gifs, however you want to say it, memes, even. Like, think about if there's okay, so the length of time, that the video or audio or, meme, the length of time is important. If it's super short, part of a movie, sometimes that's public domains, but there's places that you can go look to find out. And one of them is this
Copyright. Yeah.
copyright.gov, right?
Mm,
They've got a good like fair use index, doctrine index. They've got you can look at the Creative Commons area. This is just kind of where you can find more information about if you can use something or not. But
yeah.
the websites are not bad. So the ones that Danielle will send you, they have already been like approved as royalty free use all over. But so the length of time, and then there's like copyright doesn't last forever, right? So some things they kind of outlast the author or the creator. Let's say the life of the creator. I think that for an author, the life of the author plus 70 years. After
Hmm.
that, it's actually in the public domain.
Yep.
And then for like works that are published by like a film producer or a music producer or something for hire, I think that's like 120 years plus what's the other piece? Oh, 120 years from the publishing date or when it
Mm.
became live or available to the public for
Yeah.
for for, for purchase, right? Going to get a movie ticket or whatever. The Library of Congress has a really good, like, obviously has everything that's registered in there. What else? Just be careful with audio, video, right? Any kind of music, even in the background. You can't put music. You can't even sometimes sing long, like, you can't even sing. Like, I have one of my yoga studio people online, right? She can't even sing like more than a line of something that's already published, even though she's just singing it and put it on her yoga class because it's for business use. That's kind of one of those other critical pieces. If you don't own it, don't put it up for your business. If you don't own it, unless you get
Yeah.
full blown written permission, like Brandon said. What else
Exactly.
you got, Brandon?
Well, social media is another big issue, and that's a little fuzzy as well. To me, I think you're generally in the clear if you're sharing, blog posts or news items that are out there. If you're just simply sharing a headline that has an attached image that comes from somewhere else, I think you're generally pretty safe with that. But if you were to like download that image and then do something with it, put it on your blog and write another article using that image from Forbes or whatever, you probably get screwed, right? But if you're just resharing the article, I don't think that that's problematic because there's no way that Forbes, for example, could stop probably hundreds of thousands of people and bots and everything resharing these articles over and over and over. That's going to be virtually impossible for them to stop.
Yeah, so Danielle's gonna share something from Mark Schaefer.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a pretty good, I think it's called curation versus fair use. So that's one of those like
Yeah,
what
that's
Brandon's talking about, sharing something
it's
on
like
social
curating
media that
content. Yeah.
isn't yours, how to do it properly. So
Mm,
check out that article. There's again, he's not an attorney either, but
correct.
but
Yeah,
he
don't
wouldn't
listen to
give
me.
you bad advice.
Just
Only
be
give you good.
careful.
Yeah. So I have heard about on Facebook some spam type infringement, like scare tactics, kind of like what you felt like you went through.
Hmm.
Um, and some of them are not legit. Uh, so just you got to do your homework. If you're a business, have an attorney and don't use other people's stuff. All
Exactly.
right. Thank you so much. Anything? Why don't you say goodbye to everybody, Brandon?
All right. Goodbye, everybody. Be careful. Don't, if you have a gut feeling like, should I use this or not? Basically, you need to have your guard up, though. Don't get lazy and think, oh, I can just throw this in a PowerPoint and use it. Because God forbid that gets on a server somewhere that is searchable somehow and you get caught. That's not good.
Right on.
All right.
See
Thanks,
you next
y'all.
time. Bye.
See ya.